Hi there, I'm Colin Lamb, aka the Tone Wizard, and I hope you're doing very well wherever you may happen to be. And I just want to let you know that this episode of Ween Talk is best enjoyed with a old world styled Pilsner. And that's what I've got going on here with a nice cranky old lady on the can. No, I seriously hope that you are doing very well wherever you may happen to be. I'm excited because this is the first episode of Ween Talk of 2022, and it's actually episode number 30, so that's kind of cool. Been going for about 2 years, so that's about 15 episodes a year on aggregate. Not fucking bad if I do say so. Myself, which I just fucking did, so as luck would have it. So, in this episode, number 30, we're going to be looking at the many voices of Gene Ween. And I got to say, when I started to do this episode, I realized that I would barely scratch the surface and that I can't get to them all. So I'm going to get as many as I can. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the many different characterizations, the many different genres, and the many different characters themselves that can be found in the music of Ween, portrayed by the voice of Gene Ween. So if you're a Ween fan, you will know that Gene employs a number of different voices to capture a number of different moods and cover a number of different genres. And that's one of the things, quite frankly, that I love about Gene Ween so much, is that he's not afraid to go anywhere. And I've kind of covered it on the channel before, but Ween is they swing for the fences, and they are not afraid to strike out or miss completely. And as I was going through the catalog of their music on Spotify and picking little clips, which, by the way, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be grabbing little clips from songs to show you 5 different categories that I've kind of made of Gener's different voices. But as I was going through, I was like, I'm barely even going to scratch in on all the different voices. So if you're new to my channel, please subscribe and check out some other videos that I've done. I've got other Ween stuff and a bunch of other shit on the channel that you can go check out. But we're going to be looking at, in this episode, 5 different categories of different sort of Gene Ween style voices. And while you're listening along, please let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And also let me know what your favorite Gener voices are. And you'll see what I mean as we get going. So let's get right the fuck into it. Right the fuck now. I'm stoked. I'm jacked. I'm in a great mood. It's Thursday, last week of my holiday. And I could not be feeling any better. I got to be perfectly honest with you. I'm going to get fucking 7 out of 10 tonight. I'm going to listen to some Ween. I'm going to check out some live Ween shit. There's some other stuff that I'm into that's come out. There's a new Wolfpack album. I don't know if any of you guys are into that, but I'm going to get into that and maybe do a video on that on my channel. Anyways, okay, so the first category of Gener that we're going to be looking at is what I like to call early yelling Gener. And I had a clip to show you. I got 2 clips that I want to show you. The first one is this little gem off of God, Ween, Satan. It's Common Bitch. And this, I think, exemplifies early yelling Gener.
Let me tell you about the fucking bitch, Dino! What do you eat the fucking bitch, Dino? She's a fucking bitch, Dino! Come on, bitch!
I gotta say, when I first started listening to Ween and kind of getting in past the original mix CD that my buddy made me, I came across that, and I probably just listened to that intro for 40 minutes. I still smoked weed back then, and I was laughing my fucking face off. If that doesn't bring a smile to your face, I don't know what will. And that's probably the best example of what I like to call early yelling Gener. And I'm making these categories up, obviously, but I really want to know if you've got a category of Gener that you'd like me to look into. With a couple examples. This is part 1 of this episode, by the way. I'm going to be doing them until I run out of fucking ideas, but let me know what yours are. So I picked another little example here, and this is also off God, Ween, Satan. Another example of what I like to refer to as early yelling Gener. Here you go. I love it. I love that song. And that was another one, too. Like, if you're new to the Ween catalog, you're flipping through stuff, you're going to God, Ween, Satan, by the way, which I think if you have no intention of getting into Ween regardless of what your stance are, you should listen to that album once. There's so many fun things that happen on that album. And those are just 2 of them. That is early yelling Gene, and it's kind of like a punk rock kind of post metal thing going on. I don't know what you'd call it, but I call that early yelling Gener, and I love early yelling Gener. There's plenty of examples on there, and there's also early yelling Gener, but we're just going to cover Gener in this. So the second Gener that we're going to discuss vocally wise is what I like to call early affected Gener. So this is the Gener where you had the heavily doubled voices, the sped up or slowed down tape effects, or sometimes there was flangers, there was phasers, there was all kinds of shit going on. But let's take a listen to Dr. Rock off the pod here, and let's get some fucking early affected Gener going on here. One of my Dr. Rock! Dr. Rock! And we never find out if Derek's Mammy made an appearance, but that is one of my all-time favorite Ween songs. And my cover band, The Tender Situations, we cover that. It's one of the best songs to do live. You can really rock the shit out of that. Like, if you think that they're a little bit excessive on the pod or God, Ween, Satan, if you've ever seen them do that live as a full band, they take it fully over the top. But what you have there is early affected Gener, but it's also this kind of like classic kind of heavy rock god persona that he kind of sometimes puts on. And I didn't really know how to articulate that when I was listening to it. So I chose to go with early affected Gener because he did use a lot of effects on his voices in the earlier stuff, and he would continue doing it later, but it wasn't quite as reckless because they weren't putting out, 20 song albums at the time, as they went on later. But I love that Gener, and let's move her along here. So the first two categories were early yelling Gener, which I think are best exemplified by Common Bitch and You Fucked Up. Early affected Gener, and I chose Dr. Rock and Push the Little Daisies. So the third Gener we're going to take a look at is, it's not the greatest Gener, it's just a tribute Gener. So this is the Gener that's kind of directly paying homage to somebody vocally, where you listen to him and you're like, okay, I can kind of see what you're going for there. And Gener and Ween is Gener as well. They're big Prince fans. In the early days, they drew a lot of influences there. And I think it was, I could be wrong about this, but I think on Push the Little Daisies, they had a little Prince sample in there that they took off of a song. I can't remember. Somebody in the comments will probably know. I think I've talked about it on one of my other albums. But the song that I want to show you for the Prince kind of thing and for Gener paying direct homage to me would be two clips. I'm going to show you Freedom is 76 and Roses Are Free, which they have said is a direct kind of Prince-inspired thing. So let's take a listen to Freedom, one of my favorites as well. All right, we're going to take a listen now to Roses Are Free. Check this out.
Take a piece of tinsel and put it on the tree. Cut a slab of melon and...
All right, I think you get the idea there. You can see that. I mean, it's not even necessarily just exclusively a Prince thing. It's their appreciation of soulful kind of R&B stuff. And as I started going through to this point, by the time I got to the third category, I also thought that I would like to talk about the versatility of Gener's voice. I mean, the falsetto in Freedom is 76. Can he do it as well now? I don't know. He certainly couldn't do it very well at the Vancouver Meltdown show that I was at, but I did see them play at the reunion, and they did a very good job of it there. But the versatility of Gene is definitely one of the things that makes Ween so great, because it's one thing to be able to sing, but it's another thing to be able to actually articulate it and to have the songwriting chops to not only just pull something from different genres, but to execute it very well, which Roses Are Free and Freedom is 76, I think, are executed very well indeed. Another thing I want to show you is this little track off La Cucaracha. This is Your Party, and to my mind, this sounds like the 80s. This sounds like that kind of late yacht rock stuff. I think Gener has said before that he was a Hall & Oates fan. And you can just hear the 80s in this track, Your Party, everything down to the big cheesy sax solo. But let's just have a listen here, and we can hear that kind of cool, post-cocaine Gener circulating through the party and taking stock of an evening that's truly majestic. He's got a belly full of tricolored pastas. Let's hear it.
masters. The meat carved was drawn from succulent juices, served on platters of the purest gold.
The way that line is delivered, by the way, of the purest gold, it's coming right up through the nasal cavity. It's so evocative, man. I've obviously I'm a fucking big Ween fan, but I just thought I would do an episode on the many vocal choices and characters that Gener has made, because I think it's a singular anomaly in the world of rock music. I really do. I don't think there's any band. There's bands that have tried it. I mean, shit, I've tried my own music. Have I executed as well as they have? Absolutely not. Did I enjoy every minute of it? Yes. And I think that's really kind of the point that I would like to get across here, is that Ween, sometimes they blur the lines between parody, homage, tribute, and mockery. But at the end of the day, it's my opinion that they're having fun with music and that they're amusing themselves first and foremost. And they just happen to be fucking great songwriters. In Gener's case, a singer. I wouldn't take anything away from Gener. He's used to great effect here and there as well. But definitely musicianship. I think they're fantastic. And the amount of music that they've given us, the different moods, like I say, you just cruise through the pod, or if you cruise through God, Ween, Satan, you're going to get way more than you would ever hope for on an album. And in a day and age where the album's dying and where we don't even know if Ween's going to give us another album, and I hope to God that they do. I think it's a gift. I think Ween is a gift. I haven't been doing a lot of Ween stuff. I've been sidetracked by insane clown posse shit and all kinds of things on the channel. And at the end of the day, I'm just here having fun. But man, Ween, again, 2022 is going to be another great year with Ween, whether they put out another album or not. But I also thought I would show you this in the category of it's not the greatest Gener, it's just a tribute Gener. We got Old Man Thunder here off of God, Ween, Satan, and it's pretty obvious what the first time I heard this, I was like, okay, I can see what he's going for.
Old man thunder, sound of thunder, bones rush down. Oh, birds sing, gonna burn the sound of the phone, gonna run downtown. Sound.
Okay, I lived with my brother when I was in college. He was a wild man. That could be a whole fucking YouTube channel in and of itself. I have to be perfectly honest with you. But he gave me a Bruce Springsteen album that Bruce recorded in his and by himself with a tape machine or something like that, and said it was the best this, was the best that. I didn't enjoy it. I've never been a fan of The Boss, but as soon as I heard that song, when I was kind of shuffling through back in the day, first getting into Ween, I knew that he was going for a Bruce Springsteen thing, or at least that's my interpretation of it. Anyways, always like that along with a little fluffy tiny bunny. There's a couple of little tiny snippets of Ween stuff that I always would like to hear fully realized into a song. That would be one of them. But anyways, we're going to move on to the next category of Gener. And this Gener is a Gener I like to call the off-Broadway Gener. So this is the theatrical Gener. The Gener that adopts a personality, creates a character within the song that you can sense their motivations, maybe a little bit geographically about who they are and the sentiment of them. And the first selection of this had to be Buenos Tardes, Amigos to me. It had to begin and end with that. This is another one of the Ween songs that I heard very early on when I was getting into them, and that I instantly liked. I instantly liked the song. It's sparse, it's simple, the story is funny. There's brilliant lyrics in there. The lyric with the poison interlaced with the meat is fucking brilliant to me. It's absolutely fucking brilliant.
Buenos tardes, amigo. Hola, my good friend. Cinco de Mayo's on Tuesday, and I hoped we'd see each other again.
At the end of the day, that's just a great song. I love it. I love the story. And I love the delivery. And if you ever get a chance to see Ween do that track live, they absolutely fucking blow that one out of the park. I saw them at the reunion night one. I think it was. They closed with that. It was fucking amazing. Killer song, crazy character, crazy story. Love it. So I'm going to show you another clip here. And this one's off the Mollusk. It's She Wanted to Leave, which I think Gener kind of paints himself to be this kind of wayward, lost mariner soul who's lost his lady. But maybe she wanted to leave. Let's check it out.
Freeman out at sea. Freeman came aboard my ship and took my true love from me. I couldn't believe she wanted to leave.
All right, so that was She Wanted to Leave off the Mollusk. And like I say, he's definitely portraying a clear character there. There's a bit of a vague accent. And yeah, that's what I would call off-Broadway Gener. There's more examples out there, but we don't have time to get into them today. I've already been rambling enough. So the fifth and final category of this, part one of the many voices of Gene Ween, is going to be what I like to just call actual Gener. And the evolution of his voice is something that also should be talked about, because I think in the beginning they kind of hid behind how ridiculous was everything was, and whether they didn't realize they had the talent or whether they were a bit bashful to begin with. Eventually, as the album started coming on, you got to see Gener's real voice, which is actually a beautiful and singularly unique voice. There are some 80s voices that I think are somewhat similar to Gener. I think he's definitely influenced at that time. He grew up in the 80s as a teenager and a very young man, so it only makes sense that would eventually ooze into him, and he probably liked it anyways. Like I said, he was a Hall & Oates fan, and who knows what else he was listening to. And let me know what you think about Gener's actual voice, but I picked up a couple of examples here, because this one, I think if you're going through the discography, this is a real, in my opinion, a turning point for him vocally, because it's just his voice. Let's take a listen, and maybe you'll know what indeed Gener was talking about.
It's hanging out, and all I have is nothing to do, nothing to say. I think I must be dreaming. The sun comes up and I'm all washed out. Is this what Dina was talking about? I don't think I will ever return again, my friend.
All right. I wanted to show that, and then I wanted to show something from later on, so we could see a full, what in my opinion is a full realization of actual Aaron Freeman's voice, which again I think is a singular voice in rock, and it's a sweet voice. It's earnest. It's not incredibly masculine, but it's just a beautiful voice, man. And this is one of my favorite vocal performances right here. This is the Argus off of Quebec. We'll take a listen to this guy. Just beautiful sounding.
Yesterday we lost our lives, tomorrow we were born. Fortune smiled upon us, sacrificed the Argus, all that he might help us see.
Absolutely haunting, beautiful. And I think maybe, without belaboring the point, I think early on in Ween, you had a band with a great sense of humor. And like I say, I mean, I think maybe they almost surprised themselves with how good they became. But that to me is a guy writing an absolutely masterful, beautiful song and not turning it into parody. It's a proggy, crazy, haunting thing with like this mythological element, and it's just him singing in his voice. There's no caricatures, in my opinion. There's no I'm going for this or going for that. It's just pure fucking Gener. And I'm going to share one more clip with you, because I don't think we could do an episode and talk about Gener's voice without including this clip. This clip to me is the full emotional capacity of Gene's voice. And I'm not going to say much else. I'm just going to say, let's listen to this clip.
If you could save yourself, you'd save us all. Is that
man, I don't know if you're a Ween fan and you can listen to that without getting the chills. I don't know who you are, but that is peak Gene. I don't know what. There's nothing really more that needs to be said there. Those are 5 characterizations of the many voices of Gene Ween. This is just part 1. Yeah. I'm not going to talk too much after that. Thank you very much for watching. Please let me know what your thoughts are. Please let me know if you have a favorite Gene Ween voice that you'd like me to talk about. Give me a couple of examples, and I'll feature them on the next part of this. Thank you very much for listening to another episode of Ween Talk. If you've enjoyed this, please subscribe and check out the other stuff on my channel. But for now, take good care of yourselves. I'm going to get freaking crunkled. Later.